Good afternoon, everyone. Jason here. Today is October 22nd, and I wanted to spend just a couple minutes with you going through an ES trade that we took here in front of a live day trading audience in our chat room. This trade today was a back-to-back day of 20 ES points times 2 lots. We're featuring here on these trades our market maker levels. We spent a lot of time talking about our market maker levels, and today we were able to get into another opportunity that allowed us to capture a very handsome reward here today. Now, before we get into that trade, I want you to take a look at those price ladders to the left of the screen. These price ladders are displayed throughout the entire trading session. You'll be able to keep up in our videos, and if you're in our chat room, with exactly how we are doing based upon what you see on those price ladders. Now, you'll notice today that we were down a few ticks on the CL, and that we ended up quite nicely here on the ES. Now, before I go through the description of the trade that we took here today, I think it's important to note that I did have a technical issue at the beginning of the video. So I got into the trade in the chat room, and then I had a computer issue, and I had to kind of restart everything. And when we came back, I had lost that initial where you saw me get into the trade. So normally I like to let you hear and see where I get in initially and where the stop was initially and those kinds of things, but that won't happen on this video that you'll see here today. But again, I captured enough of the trade for you to be able to get a really good sense of exactly how we manage the trade. Now I'm going to show you how we got into the trade here today. So normally I look at this chart here, but for the sake of this discussion, I really want to clean everything off of this chart and let you look at it here. So this is a copy of what our market maker levels look like in the overnight session support and resistance. Now, that's not just overnight, but they are kind of the bigger picture structure points for the day. Now, before I go any further, if you're not familiar with what our market maker levels are, basically the market maker levels are a series of support and resistance ideas that are broken down into different parts of the session. So right now you see a set of levels on here with the designation of ETH, that stands for extended trading hours, or the overnight session. Bigger picture ideas, you turn those off and turn on the RTH, which are the day session levels, and you can see that they are effective as well. Now, when you turn them on together, they give you some really good information. But for the sake of this discussion here today, I'm going to just take a look here at the overnight levels for just a minute. So as we opened up here, and maybe I will turn these RTH session levels back on. As we opened up above the RTH signal, and there's a couple of rules of thumb that we look at in here. So and again, this was difficult when I was being taught these levels, and it's really not that difficult of a concept, but you do see RTH signal, and then you see an RTH target above, and then below you see RTH signal and RTH target down below. There was some nomenclature that this guy that trained me, this veteran floor trader, he would call it kick the signal and pay the target. And so what you were looking for is, in this instance, if the market opens above the RTH signal, then you are looking for it to hit the RTH target. If it can't get to the level above, then the expectation is that it gets to the level below. If it continues to push down, then that level below. If it can't get through and down to the level, that next level, then you should expect it to rally back up to here, and in this case, kick the signal, pay the target, right? Which is ultimately what it does. Almost every session, there's a few exceptions, but almost every session that we trade, there is a kick the signal, pay the target expectation, right? And just about every session that we trade. Now, it doesn't happen every single time, but for the most part, if it can't get to the level above, then it gets to the level below, and then the level below that, like stairs on a ladder, right? Like steps on a ladder. And so that's kind of what you're looking for here today. And of course, the market rallies all the way up into the RTH target. Now, if you are being mindful of your overnight session levels, you had the same thing happen here. Kick the signal, pay the target. Market rallies, it rallies again, comes back all the way down to the target. And again, we couldn't get to the level below, so the expectation is it comes to the level above, and then again, we would be looking maybe for this thing to either clear out this ETH signal up above, as we go into the close, the last hour of the day here, or into this ETH mid. But let's talk about the trade that we took in the day trading chat room here today. So I'm going to bring over the RTH session look here. This was the RTH session. And so one of the things that kind of gave us a clue here that we were going to be looking to get short, and mind you, if you were in the day trading chat room with us today, you know that I took a couple of small losers before we caught the big 20 point times 2 lot winner. Same thing happened yesterday. We had an idea of what our expectation level was, and we have smaller stops, right? So we had a 5-to-1 reward to risk trade here today that net was, that net positive, what you saw there on the P&L. But we did take a couple of small losing trades to start the day with. And again, understanding what we know about how our levels work and what the volume tools were showing us, we were persistent with getting into that opportunity when it was not taking out this level here. So if you turn on, we're going to do a couple things here. So actually, let's do it this way. So, well, let's come back here. So you see this dotted line here. It's a little bit hard to see. That represented the prior day's open, right? So what you'll notice here is that the market was not getting through the prior day open with any sense of energy, and we were not coming up into the RTH mid. Now, settlement today was also at 32.5. It's not marked on this chart here, but settlement today was all the way down at 32.5. In fact, we'll put a horizontal line just to kind of mark where settlement was here today. So let's go here, and that was at 32.5, which is about right there. Okay, so this line will represent settlement. And so you'll notice that we spent an inordinate amount of time right after the open today, rotational, around the settlement area, right? Also, what we saw here, this is your RTH session, that right around 9:15 here, your volume weighted average price was at 33.5, 34. So right in this area is right around 34, 34 quarter. And so as the market was rallying through here, we also were looking at our cumulative delta, our volume tool, right? So right here today at around 9 o'clock this morning, you had the delta began, and that's about right here. So you had this climax right into this ETH mid on the delta, and then the delta began to start to roll over. It was at this point that we got in one final time at that RTH volume weighted average price, corresponded with our market maker levels, and that's where we got in, and we began to ride this thing all the way down. Now, we were looking for a bit deeper target this morning. We were looking for it to come down into this RTH signal here, which it did not quite make it down to. We got to 7 quarter. This initial push down to 11.5, and I put my trail stop I was in at 34. I put my trail stop here at 14. So that was 20 points on an ES trade times 2 lots. And so again, very simple idea. We're not trying to overcomplicate this. We had our levels that we were looking at. We could not get to the level above here. We could not get through the prior day's open. We hit into that volume weighted average price on the RTH session, and we were looking at our volume tools, and the volume, the delta began to drop dramatically. And so we took a chance. And like I said, it takes a minute sometimes for the market to do what you want it to do. We like to have tight stops, and because of that, you're going to take some stops, right? Because you are on the tighter stop. But eventually, if it's going to work in your favor, you have the opportunity to take a very handsome, large trade like we did yesterday in the video that I showed you, and like we did here in the trade here that I will show you in just a couple of minutes. So the takeaways on this particular trade is we had volume turning in our favor. We had our known support resistance, which we call market maker levels. And we also were not able to get up through the prior day's open, and we weren't closing above that. We were trying to push through it, and we kept meeting resistance there. And so we got into our opportunity. We had a couple of small stop outs, and then we had one 80 tick, 20 point ES winner, and that's what I'm going to show you here today. Also, before we do that, I just want to show you, if you like the NQ, the levels are kind of the same thing, right? Here's your NQ levels. Market opens up around the RTH signal, goes to the level here, makes it down its way through here, kick the signal, pay the target. The low of the day is your lower target one, and then the market has subsequently began to walk the ladder, the price ladder, back up again today. So again, market maker levels providing you with excellent structure and context on your NQ as well as the ES. So again, I'm going to let you watch today's ES trade of the day here. Just remember that you're going to pick it up just after this trade started, and you'll see exactly how, again, it was a 40-minute trade, so you're not going to hear me exactly get in. But anyway, I'm going to put a little bit of music behind it, speed it up, and then you'll be able to see exactly where it is that we got out, and you'll be able to see the price ladder is going to match what you saw there on screen. And remember, all of these trades on this YouTube channel were taken in front of a live trading audience on a daily basis. So without further ado, here is that OTG trade of the day.